The avalanche of nightmarish events triggered by Putin's madness is gradually gaining momentum. As I see it, carefree optimism has, for the most part, become a thing of the past. And the Americans have already spat into their palm sand, have sat down to calculate all the nuances of the upcoming, at least the initial battles with Russia over Europe. The colossal advantages of NATO's air forces, in theory, should ensure complete dominance in the skies. But even according to the most optimistic forecasts, this won't happen immediately. In the first days, Russia may be able to deliver successful strikes against NATO troops and targets. But then the situation will be reversed and the alliance will begin to press its advantage. But you understand, these are just projections. And the reality could turn out to be completely different because no one knows what a global war would actually be like. It will bear very little resemblance to the Ukrainian front, the lessons of which, yes, will be useful, but not at the initial stage. A global war will be a war of an as yet unknown type for which no one is prepared. Russia is no more prepared than NATO is. And the experience of occupying part of Ukraine is unlikely to be of any use to it. And NATO has no experience at all. So, of course, there is a high probability that the war will be decided precisely by aerial battles and NATO's 20-fold superiority in aviation. But we all know how little the predictions of any generals are actually worth. Nevertheless, everyone is acting very clever, making detailed plans, drawing up strategies, assigning places and times for strikes. In general, there is no longer much doubt about how far the war started by the Kremlin idiot will go. The only question is how much time is left until the first attack. And a Bloomberg columnist writes, those who will have to fight are not asking whether the threat of war with Russia is real, but rather where, when, and how, in what form it will begin. They are not speculating about what President Trump might or might not do. What worries them most is how little time they have to prepare. Overall, these are very strange lamentations. They had 3.5 years to prepare. But for NATO, a major war turned out to be as much of a surprise as the arrival of winter is for Russian janitors. There is, after all, a certain kinship, something universally human, even among representatives of such different levels of development and countries. To spend 3 years sitting around with your mouth open, showing off and amusing yourself with bombastic statements, only to, roughly speaking, come to your senses half an hour before the war and start preparing for the inevitable. Poland is already building defensive structures on the border with Königsberg. And generally speaking, I would also say that they are concerned about the timing, and Russia, no longer embarrassed by Uncle Trump, who has once again assumed the pose of a thinker for a couple of weeks. Russia is growing bolder, reveling in its petty successes in the Sumy region, which are the result of the brutal hourly abuse of its own personnel. This personnel is being driven to attack Ukrainian positions through beatings, blackmail, and torture. And it doesn't matter at all what successes they report or how many completely destroyed villages they capture, because they will be driven out of everywhere anyway. And all that blood, which the Ministry of Defense so eagerly and lavishly spills, will be shed in vain and later will even be recognized as a crime and a disgrace.